Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Papaya Pod, a McLaren F1 podcast. I'm the host, Jimmy, and once again, I'm joined by another amazing McLaren based guest. This week, I'm joined by somebody who was part of the McLaren team. He was the radio engineer for the testing team, has some amazing stories. There's so much we didn't touch on, so I think we might have to get him on again at some point in the future. But amazing stories. I don't even know where to start. It was absolutely brilliant, a real insight to what it's like to be inside that team and how surreal it was for him as a McLaren fan with no engineering experience, no engineering degree, to end up working for the McLaren racing team. It is a great story. I hope you guys enjoy this one as much as I did. It's Ben Hebborn, amazing guy. Shout out to his wife Sandra as well, who helped set this up. Just messaged me on Threads and got this one underway. I'm so glad she did because it was such great fun. So yeah, without further ado, here he is, Mr. Ben Hebborn. Ben, thank you so much for joining me. Really
No problem.
appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
And thank you for being flexible as well. I've had a bit of one of them days today, so
Yeah, no problem.
I suppose I've got to start off with also thanking your wife Sandra, who basically set this whole thing up. She messaged me
Yeah,
on Threads and explained a bit about yourself, and you would be interested. And I was like, yes, 100% yes. So yeah, big thanks to Sandra as well.
yeah. She's a
Um,
bit of a demon on social media, so yeah, it's not the first time she kind of wangles stuff like this. Not for me necessarily, but just in general. And I don't know how she does it, to be fair. But anyway,
well, I'll be
thank
honest
her.
with you.
There we are.
Threads is very new to me. I've not really used it until a few
Yeah,
weeks
me
back. I
too.
just linked it up to my Instagram account, and I sort of even forgot to keep looking at the notifications and stuff. But turns out it's a much friendlier place than Twitter is. So
Indeed. Yeah, it is. Yeah,
I'm going to be using it a bit more often, I think, and it's led to
yeah,
things
me
like
too.
this, which is amazing.
Yeah,
Um, you're a McLaren fan. Let's start there. You're a
yeah,
McLaren fan. You were always a McLaren fan, I believe,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Why?
So, I mean, I've been into motorsport since I can remember. Really, like it goes all the way back to like just being a kid and like getting a model like Formula One car and just being, I was just instantly like drawn to it. And that, I've watched Formula One, yeah, since, like I say, since I can remember. And then when I started to get a little bit older, kind of in my like, yeah, early teens, then I really started to kind of pay attention to what was happening and then really get into it, learn all the drivers and really, really immerse myself into it. And then that was when Mika Hakkinen was driving for McLaren, and just the Mika Schumacher battles were just legendary. And I don't know what it was about Mika Hakkinen, but I was just drawn to him. And by default, I was drawn to McLaren. And then because they were a British team, I guess, and because and they had a really like back then they had a. I mean, they still do, but back then they had a. It was a really kind of they had a really cool air about them, didn't they? McLaren back then, like the cars were silver, and it
Yeah.
was like the Mercedes engine, like the silver arrows, and Mika was just like super cool Finnish guy, and I don't know, I was just fully invested after that, and then yeah, and then that was it. Then I was a McLaren fan.
I love that because I think Mika's come up in every single episode so far. And I'm going to make it a mission to bring him up in every single episode because that's the exact reason I'm a McLaren fan as well. I
Yeah,
love Mika Hakkinen so much. Anyone who listens or watches regularly, if anyone does listen or watch regularly, will probably be sick of me saying it, but I make no apology. I will continue to say it because I love Mika Hakkinen.
there's just something about him, wasn't there? Like I can't really quite put my finger on it, but he was just so cool and outside the car, just so cool and kind of so honest. And he didn't feel there was any kind of bravado around him. But when he got in the car, he was just an animal. Like, and I,
Yeah,
I remember a couple of, I can't say specific races, but like some of the qualifying, one lap qualifying laps he put in against Schumacher, that car was on the absolute limit and you could see it. And it was kind of exciting. And like Schumacher was, not taking anything away from Michael Schumacher, but he was more clinical in the car. You had to like understand driving in Formula One a bit more to see the skill that he was kind of performing. Mika was just raw,
yeah.
it seemed to me, and that was what drew me to him.
I'm with you. I love that. We're exactly the same in that regard. And I think that's pretty much where our similarities end, certainly with our life choices anyway. Um, you ended up working for the team you support.
Yeah.
So many questions on that. But firstly, how did it come about?
Well, yeah. Firstly, like I didn't plan it at all. It was complete random. But it happened. So I went to university, and I put all of my eggs into being a photographer, basically, and it didn't work out. And I was in a bit of a low spot, and I was like, what am I going to do with my life? I can't get to do the photographic degree that I want to do, and like my chances of becoming a photographer seem to be dwindling. What am I going to do? And I managed to sort of blag myself onto a music technology degree, which is like sound engineering.
Right.
And because I didn't have any kind of formal training in music or anything like that, but at the time I played the guitar, and I had a nightclub. Like I was a DJ doing drum and bass, and
Oh, okay.
we had our own we had our own club night in Subway, which used to be a club underneath the club that's in Southsea. I can't remember what it's
Oh,
called.
Scandals.
Yeah, and there was one
Scandals,
underneath. It
yeah.
used to be called Subway.
Oh, okay.
We had a club night in there once a month, doing drum and bass. But anyway, I kind of blagged my way onto this course, and I ended up doing this music technology degree. And then and that was in Hertfordshire. I came back I was living away, but then I came back after the degree was over, and I had to kind of move back into the family home. And one day I was just looking through the paper for jobs, and there it was. It said McLaren with their like logo, and it said skilled and unskilled labour needed. And I thought, well, I'm not skilled in anything to do with automotive or anything to do with McLaren, but I'm unskilled, and it says McLaren on it. So I'll sweep the floor all day if I have to, if they pay me,
Yeah.
So I went along to the interview, and it was in the Hilton in Fratton. No, in not Fratton. Sorry, I've been away from Portsmouth too long.
Oh, in North Harbour way.
Yeah, North Harbour, just
Yeah.
by the motorway.
Sorry, guy. We're talking about local areas because I found out just before recording. I'm from Portsmouth, for those that don't know, and I found out just before recording that actually, although he now lives in Sweden, Ben is also from Portsmouth, which is just crazy.
Getting too local. Anyway, I went to a hotel. We went to this hotel, and it was like a group interview, like there was loads of people there, and they did this presentation. It was like, right, we're McLaren Composites, and we're making the Spider chassis for the McLaren Mercedes SLR road car, and we need people to basically work in this factory and do carbon fiber work and build this chassis, and then we have all of the body panels delivered from South Africa, and we assemble them onto the car. And then the basic shell is shipped to Woking, where they had their production line at MTC, and they finished the car off. So we went through this group interview, and it was like we played games and we did other group things and stuff. And I ended up getting the job. And I was kind of like a fish out of water. Like I went into the production line, and it was like there were people there, like like hardened carbon fiber automotive guys, and they were saying all this stuff, and I was just like totally wet behind the ears. But
you just completely blagged it then.
Yeah. But it was like I was the non-skilled thing, and I was like, yeah, I'm the non-skilled labour. That's what it said on the advert.
So you didn't even try to pretend to know during the interview. Then you were pretty honest about it.
No, man, they didn't even ask things about that. We just played games. Like we built like spaghetti towers and did all kinds of things. Oh, I guess
just to see how you work with the team, right? I guess.
Yeah, I guess. And I did have to do a mechanical aptitude test and a mathematical aptitude test. And I thought that was that was my downfall, my sticking point. But it turned out that I obviously did all right. And I started off just gluing the bonnets together. The bonnet had a big thick carbon top piece, and then it had a bit underneath that you had to glue together. And you had to rough up the carbon fiber with a widgie wheel.
Right.
And the underside of the big bonnet was fine because it was a big thick piece of carbon fiber, but the inside part was only like 3 or 4 plies of carbon fiber. It was really thin. And I remember the first time you had to kind of rough it up so you could glue it together.
Yeah.
And I remember the guy saying, you don't want to press too hard on this when you do this, because if you go through if you press too hard, it'll go through the carbon, make a hole in it. Then you got to repair it. And we had to make
No pressure.
we had to make 3 a day. We had to have one that come out of the jig after being glued all night, and then we backfilled like the gaps from the bonnet. We like backfilled with more like resin.
Right.
So we had one that we had to backfill. We had one that we had to prep and get into the jig, and then we had one that was already in the jig gluing during the night. And lo and behold, my first one, I put a hole in it, and the guy said, "Right, now you have to go. Now you have to go and see these guys in this room and ask them to repair it." And they had this in the factory. They had this small room, and it was like a sealed room with a big extractor fan, because there was these guys, and they were like contract guys. They were like, you know, they've been doing this stuff for donkey's years, and they were repairing like any carbon repairs, and they were also like adding or taking away profile on doors and like on the quarter panels and things like that, because if they were slightly wrong or whatever. And I went in there, and you know, they kind of just basically turned around to me and went, "You can F off, like we haven't got time for this, we've got to do all these doors, we've got to do all this." So I said, you know, how hard can it be? Show me how to do it. You only have to show me once, and then I can do it myself, and then I won't bother you anymore. They were like, "Okay, that sounds like a good idea. We'll do it." So they showed me how to do this carbon repair. It was fairly simple. And then that kind of snowballed, where I was the guy that fixed carbon. If anyone put a hole in something outside of this room, they came to me to fix it.
Wow.
And that grew, and then I ended up working in that room with those guys, and I was the only non-contracted guy that was working in there, and I was filling in some of the panels. They don't push the carbon all the way into the corners, and then when it's in the mold, they obviously put it in a vacuum, and the resin gets sucked all the way through. If the carbon isn't in the corner, that resin just gets sucked into the corner, and then you get a resin-rich corner, and it's just pure resin.
Right.
And you can't have that because there's no strength in it. So if you spent £100,000 on an SLR and you shut the door, like the end's going to chip off. So you have to fix it. You have to drill it out from the inside and lay more carbon inside and stuff like that. So I started off doing all that, and I was the only guy in that kind of area that was like a permanent employee. And then it ended up I started teaching a few more people how to do this, and it ended up being a kind of, I helped those guys because they could concentrate on doing like more technical stuff with doors and more skill profile work and stuff like that, and I could do all the other kind of small, more menial jobs, and it worked quite well. And then one day it came up in the internal, we had like a tea room, and there was an internal mail kind of message board, and it came up a job like radio communications technician test team. And my manager said, "Oh, Ben, have you seen that advert on the thing about from the radio guy?" And I said, "Well, yeah." He said, "Well, you could do that, couldn't you?" And I'm like, "Well, not really." He's like, "Yeah, you got a music degree?" I was like, "Well, yeah, but music, sound engineering, and like radios is like 2 different things. Not really the same." "Yeah, they are." "What? Just go and have just apply. I'll write. You know, I'll give you a good write up, and then even if they say no, what's the worst that can happen?" I'm like, "All right, okay, all right, why not?" So I applied for the job, and I got an interview, and I went there, and it was in MTC. And I went there, and they took me upstairs, and we went into this office. And for like everyone that works at MTC, you know, it's normal. But for me, I'm inside MTC. You're like going into like the mothership, you know?
Yeah.
And we went up, and they had like, it was like all the upstairs of MTC is like, MTC is like made up of like fingers. And the bottom half is, there's a basement section, and the ground floor is like the workshops. And then the top floor is like offices or design studios. And where this meeting room was, we had to walk through where the designers were. And they had a full size mock up, a couple of seasons older McLaren, like stripped down, like right in the middle of this office. And I'm sort of like, as I walk past, like, oh my god, like there's a real car there. I sit in the interview, and I tell the guy, you know, look, because I thought, what am I going to say? Like, I can't lie. I've got no motorsport experience. I've never done anything with radios before, right? But I've got a music technology degree, so I've got some idea about how this kind of stuff works. I am a quick learner because I used the example of this carbon fiber stuff, and like, you know, I've come into an industry where I know nothing about it, and within 6 months, you know, I'm the only guy in permanent employee in this contracting area, so I can learn things fast. And then I just said, and I don't know why I said it, but it was kind of, I think it was the selling point. I just said, look, and if I said, I'm going to give it 100%. If you give me the job, I'm going to give it 100%. Because, if you told me 3 weeks ago that I'd be sat here, in McLaren headquarters talking to you, I would have laughed. So I'm not going to take this opportunity lightly. I'm going to give it 110%. And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. But I know that I've given it 110%. And I know that, and I know that it's a unique opportunity. And if I've given it 100% and it's not enough, then it's not enough. So whatever.
No regrets.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then we had a little bit more of a chat. And then I thought that, well, that was nice. That was a good experience. And I went back to making an SLR. And then they called me up again. They said, "Oh yeah, we want you to come for a second interview." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "What?" And they said, "Yeah, come back for a second interview." So I went back to the second interview, and I met the guy that I had spoken to before, and he said, "Right, you're going to meet this guy." And Dave Ryan, and I don't know if you know who Dave Ryan was, but he was the old team principal back in the day. He ended up having to leave because I can't remember. He said something controversial or did something. Anyway, I didn't know who he was at the time. Could have been Mickey Mouse. But he said, "You're going to meet this guy, Dave Ryan. And all I want you to do is just answer his questions and just tell him exactly what you told me in the interview." And I was like, "Right, okay."
Trying to remember everything you said.
So I basically told him everything that we said. This is a good opportunity. I'm not going to waste it. I'll give it 110%. If you don't like me in 3 months, just if it's not going to work out, just get rid of me. But I know I've given it my best. And this guy was quite intimidating. He was like, I was like sat up, bolt upright, doing my best. And the other guy was kind of, I would say, being very formal. But Dave was sat back in his chair, seat up, and he was like, "Yeah. So, what about your music stuff then?" And I was like, "Well, what about it?" He's like, "Well, what if opportunity music comes up? You're just gonna pack up and run off? You're gonna leave, are you?" I'm like, "Well, no. if I'm in, if I'm working for McLaren, I'm in 100%. I'm not going anywhere." And it was kind of a bit scary because he was just so relaxed, and I was like, "This is a bit weird." Anyway, it turned out that Dave Ryan was the team principal, and he had a bit of a reputation for being a bit of a taskmaster, which I came to learn later on. But so I just told him that, like I say, what I said before. And then again, I thought, well, that was a nice treat to go back to McLaren one more time. And then about a week later, they rang me up and said, "Yeah, we were going to give you the job." And I was like, "Really?"
Wow.
I didn't expect it at all. And I was like, "Okay." And they said, "Yeah, we've already spoken to your manager." And because this was at the beginning of February, and they were just launching. It was just when they changed the car to chrome and had the Vodafone sponsorship come on.
Funny that I'm wearing one of them tops now.
Like your T-shirt now. And they launched the car in the Albert Hall.
Right.
They did a thing with Cirque du Soleil. Ron Dennis knew the owner of Cirque du Soleil, and they did this big launch where they had Cirque du Soleil do a little show at the beginning, and then they kind of raised the car up out of the floor in the Royal Albert Hall, and it was all chrome and everything. It was amazing. And we had all been invited to go there because we were McLaren employees. And they called me and said, "You got the job." And after I kind of came back to earth, they said, "Right, we need you to go to Valencia and start with the test team next week." I'm like, "What?"
Wow.
They're like, yeah, you need to go next week. And you need to come before that. You need to come up to Woking to get your team kit and stuff. And I'm like, "Ooh, okay." They said, "Well, don't worry. This has all been cleared with your boss. Just tell him when you're going to come and he's happy with it. And you can just do what you like, basically, as long as you get here and get it." And I said, "Well, what about I'm supposed to be going to the launch?" "Oh, yeah, you can still go to the launch. And then, you'll be on a plane." I can't remember how it was, but it was I went to the launch and then it was a couple of days later, I was getting on the plane to go to Valencia.
Wow.
I went to MTC to get my stuff. And I don't know if you've ever been to MTC, but it's
I have.
a Bond villain. It is like a Bond villain's lair. And you go through the turnstiles and you get to the corridor, and it's just this white corridor. You can't see the lift at the other end. and there's no directions on the wall about where you should go or what you should do. And and luckily I've been there for the interview, but I was wandering around for a minute. I thought they're watching me on camera, just thinking, who is this? What is he doing? But I had to go and report to the race. They're like, yeah, come and get your clothing. And I'm like, well, okay. So I'm kind of wandering around MTC, getting to some kind of reception desk. Oh, can you tell me where the clothing is? And it was down in one of the basement parts of the factory. But I eventually went there, and then they said, and I didn't have a clue what was coming. And they said, right, now you need to get your team kit, and you've got a little space over here. And they had this whole area where every team member had like a wardrobe, and they would every race you like just put all your dirty laundry in a sack and basically sent it back. They cleaned it and put it back in your kind of wardrobe for you.
Wow.
And they're like, yeah, this is your slot. You can come here every time and get your new clothes and everything. And I'm like, oh, really? They're like, yeah. And they're like, oh, here's your team watch. And they gave me a tag watch. I'm like, my team watch? Like, yeah, you get this team watch.
Oh my God.
This team watch, you tag her, yeah. Does it fit you all right? And they fitted me the watch. And I had to take a couple of links out, whatever. And I'm like, okay, great. They said, here's your suitcase. And then it was a McLaren branded suitcase. You put all your clothes in that and everything. Make sure you pack everything. And then put it in the sack, put it on the truck, and then you come and collect it when you on your next event. I'm like, okay. They said, oh, now we need your travel kit. I'm like, travel kit? They're like, yeah. Everybody wears the same clothes when they travel. We need to fit you up what your size is. And it was all Hugo Boss like clothes.
Oh my God!
They were sponsored by Hugo Boss at the time. So then I got all this Hugo Boss stuff, and it was like a weird it was a weird jacket made out of some weird material, beige thing, and it was a white shirt and jeans, and I remember some Hugo Boss shoes, and there was a jumper as well. So they said, right, wear this whenever you're traveling with the team. So when you go to the airport and when you're traveling home, you wear this, and then when you go to the circuit, you wear this. I was like, okay. And then they're like, when you're like out when you're not working or not traveling, you have to pack some of your own clothes, but you have to make sure you can fit it in this bag. I'm like, okay, no problem. So that was a whirlwind in itself.
Wow.
And then like a couple of days after that, I went to the launch in the Albert Hall, and then I was on a plane to Valencia by myself. There was one guy from marketing there, but he was like, we landed in Valencia and we just went to the hotel, and I went in. And I said, oh, I'm here with McLaren. And they said, oh, yeah, your colleagues are on their way. They're coming from, I think they'd done a test in Barcelona. They were driving from Barcelona to Valencia.
Wow.
Because back then, winter testing was like solid from like the end of January to like the beginning of March.
Mm.
It was test week after week after week testing in various different places. And so they had finished the test in Barcelona, and then they were packed up. They were driving themselves to Valencia ahead of the race truck, so they could have a day kind of off. And then it was in to set up the garage the next day. And so I just sort of sat around the hotel room waiting. And they said, oh, yeah, they're probably going to arrive about this time. So I can't remember what time it was, about 3 maybe. I kind of started hanging around the reception and the bar of the hotel. And then all of a sudden, these people start walking in, and I left my like travel kit on, because I thought the only way I could introduce myself is by like saying, "Look, I look like you.
I'm one of you. Please,
I'm one of you."
Please welcome me."
They walked in with the travel kit, and I went up to this guy just at the first guy I saw at the desk. I said, "Right, I know that I'm supposed to be talking to you because we're dressed the same." He looks at me like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Ben, the new radio guy." He's like, "Oh, okay, yeah." And it happened to be that I was speaking to the chief mechanic at the time, so I was quite lucky. He said, oh, yeah, okay, great. Actually, we're going to go into the circuit and have a look now. You could come with us and get a taste. We'll meet in the car, like in about 15 minutes. So then, we got in the car, and then we drove there, and then, we got to the garage, and I had a kind of tour around. And
you must have been so nervous at this point.
I was absolutely bricking it. Like I was like, there were times I was like, this has gone too far. Just get on a plane and go home. Let's just not get started. This is going to go horribly wrong. Like this joke.
Someone who's never done anything like that before.
I mean,
talk about being thrown in at the deep end, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was like, this joke's gone too far. We should just turn back. I should just get on a plane and turn back. But I got there and I was sort of showing around all the radio equipment, and the guy that had done the job previously had left, so there was just me there.
You didn't
And
even have anyone to sort of show you the
luckily,
ropes.
luckily they had Kenwood do the radios for McLaren. I think they still do, but they're like an actual sponsor of McLaren, or they were then. They had the logo on the car, so they had representatives at every event. So I had a Japanese guy who didn't speak much English, but knew a lot about radios.
And I can't imagine you speak Japanese.
No, I don't speak Japanese, but he knew a lot about radios, so that was a good thing. So I basically just had to learn as much as I could from him. And we used international signs, and we drew diagrams, and we used pictures and everything, and I just had to pick up everything from him. And and they're taking me around. These are all your drawers in a truck, and it had all this stuff in it, all this radio stuff and connectors and wires and all kinds of things. And they're like, yeah, you're going to do the you look after the radio in the car as well. Let's go and have a look at the car. And then they take me into the garage, and there's the McLaren Formula One car.
Wow.
They're working. And they're like, yeah, the radio's inside this module, and it fitted in like a module that went into the floor of the car, and then the seat went over the top of it. You're going to have to get some tools. You need to take this out, and you need to take the radio out. I'm like, what? I need to do that on the car. They're like, yeah, you need to do that on the car. I'm like, oh my God. And then they're like, yeah, no, and then we need to show you about prepping the driver's helmets. You got to do their microphone and their earpieces and their helmets and stuff. And this is how you do a radio and everything, and like wire it all in and tape it in and everything. And then
it's absolutely nothing. Like it's not a big deal.
It's normal to them. Yeah. I mean, a lot of these guys have been doing this for years. They built their way up through the junior ranks. And then they said, okay, after the first couple of days, then there's going to be some race team guys are going to come. And the guy that interviewed me, his name was Phil Asbury. He's coming to the test. So I thought, oh, thank God, I've got a little bit of like someone else that can help me.
A familiar face.
Yeah, a familiar face. And he kind of gave me, when he came, I had a lot of questions, and he kind of answered a lot of the questions. And then, it just went from there. And then it was like test after test after test, and I just built up and built up and built up. And to be honest, there was a moment, probably about a month and a half in, where it wasn't going 100% well. I was making mistakes. I was getting things wrong. I was still learning, and it took me a while to get into like the whole way it is, the whole environment and the whole working way. And like I said, a lot of these guys have been doing junior formulas for years, and it's second nature to them. But there's a certain way of working, and there's a certain way to be. And I was just like a complete fish out of water. And we went to a test in York. We used to drive up and down the airfield in Elvington, where Richard Harris had his big crash. And we used to just do aerodynamic runs up and down there, just in a straight line, just with an aero rake on the car. And it was then we were there, and it was a bit more of a relaxed like session. We'd drive up the day before, then we'd set up, and it was just in a big like tent kind of thing with just a car and the basics. And a basic like portable radio kind of setup that we had. And the team manager kind of called me aside in the hotel, and he said, yeah, it's kind of a bit worried about you, Ben. And it was kind of like you need to kind of buck up, otherwise this isn't working out. And this is what I didn't want to happen, even though I'd said it in the interview, once I got the job, I was like, I'm keeping, I really wanted to.
I can imagine. Yeah. You've got a taste of it at this point.
Yeah, and he said, you've got a really good attitude, and you're kind of getting on with some people, but there's just a bit. It's just I can't trust you, and that's the most important thing. And I'm like, oh, shit, okay. But I just kept doing what I was doing, and I just kept working hard, and made it, and it worked. And eventually,
changed their mind.
Yeah, they changed their mind. Yeah, I mean. And then I was in the team kind of thing. And
well, you changed their mind ultimately, right?
No, I must have done, yeah. But I didn't. I can't say that I did anything particularly different. I just kept plugging away. I just kept working, and like the chief mechanic actually was quite, when I look back, like he was quite fundamental. He used to tell me a lot of things and say a lot of things, and at the time some of it was a bit like, oh, why is he saying that, like what an idiot, or why is he doing that, why is he being like that? And then things started to click. Week after week, things started to click in to place. Oh, that's why he said that, and that's why he does that, and that's why this is. And I just got, I think I just got into the whole routine and the ways of working and everything, and just came to understand how it should be, and that's how I managed to kind of keep my job.
Amazing. The thing is, like you said, it was completely new. You'd never done anything like it before. It's
Yeah,
going to take time. I mean, the
yeah,
way the sort of whole Formula One teams work and the setup and just everything is completely different to anything else, right? It's
yeah, exactly. And and I was a fan before, so it really took me about a month to just calm down, just to be,
mm,
just to stop kind of being like a fanboy, and just like,
yeah.
this is my life, this is what I do, this is my job. Like this isn't fantasy, or this
You've not
isn't
won a competition.
yeah, this isn't a game. It's not going to go away. This is your job. This is what you need to do. And I think that kind of helped as well. That it normalizes, and it becomes just a job. And you speak to a lot of other people, and you hear the stories and the things from the past and what other people have done and everything. And then it kind of helps you settle in.
Yeah,
But
that's amazing.
it did take me a while, I must admit. It took me a while to come down.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. I mean, it's any Formula One fan's dream job, right? It's
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, and it was my dream job kind of thing, and
just to be
it took
part of
me.
the team in any form.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then yeah, and I mean it's always been a dream job, but then you get to you always appreciate like how lucky you are, but you in the end it becomes routine, and you can kind of calm down, and you can kind of start to kind of widen your scope a little bit and
Yeah.
kind of see the forest instead of just being like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
There's another car. So it
Yeah,
turns out that putting a hole in the carbon fiber way back when might have been the best thing you ever did.
yeah, it could have been. Yeah, yeah, that's
When
exactly
I
right.
was at MTC, we got a sort of we were allowed to watch the production line for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes or so, I guess we were there. And I mean that in itself was, I mean, that wasn't the reason most of us were there because we were F1 fans. We wanted to see all the Formula One cars and Sennas
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Häkkinens
yeah,
and blah blah blah. But it was part of the experience that I just wasn't expecting. And I'll be honest, I was a bit like, oh, this would be all right. This would be quite cool. See some McLaren road cars and stuff. And then you get in there, and I mean, we're watching from the top of the balcony, no phones allowed, no cameras allowed, and it was just like, wow, just
yeah,
watching. I mean, you know better than anyone how it works, but just watching it, no pun intended, it was a well-oiled machine. The whole thing was
yeah,
just, and but although I don't know how to describe it, it was so chaotic, but so quietly calm at the same time.
yeah.
I don't even know if that makes sense, but there's
I
so
mean
much going on.
yeah. I mean that was probably the hardest thing that I struggled with, and that was probably why, where I was falling over at the start, because it's such a well-oiled machine, and everyone's got their job, and it has to get done, and nobody's really got time for anything else apart from what they're doing.
Mm,
And so for a while now, I was just kind of like this kind of like foreigner in a busy street, just getting kind of bustled about by people just going back and forth, and I'm sort of like, oh, and it was getting that mentality, like, it is only me, and I have to execute what I have to
have to
do,
almost be a
and
robot, I guess.
not
That's
really care about what anyone else is saying or what anyone else is doing. I just have to make sure that my stuff is done and is done on time. And of course, if it isn't done on time, if you're impacting someone else, they let you know.
yeah, I can imagine.
They let you know about it. But you have to kind of block all that noise out, and you just have to be like, okay, no problem, and or say something to them and just block it out, and then focus on getting your stuff done. And that was probably the hardest thing, because I'd never worked in an environment like that before.
No.
Even the composites shop with the SLR wasn't like that. And yeah, that was the toughest thing.
Yeah, I bet. I'm just seeing that, like I say, just how calm and quiet and sort of just, I don't know, it's just so weird because normally you work you see car garages and they're running around like headless chickens, or either that or nothing's getting done. There's no in
Yeah.
between. Whereas
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
it was just, yeah, unbelievable, unbelievable. Um, have you got like, or you probably have you kept any sort of memorabilia from back
Yes,
then?
yes, I have. I've got quite a few things. I've, actually, hang on. I've got the
Oh,
box.
oh. Feel like those watching on YouTube might be in for a treat here.
I've got things like signed pictures.
Oh wow, look at that. Oh wow.
That this is one of my kind of best things that happened when I was working on the test team.
So that
Mika,
you got that signed by Mika Hakkinen
yeah,
person.
Mika did a test in Barcelona, and he drove the car in 2008.
Whilst you were there.
Yeah, and I was on the test team, so I had to do his radio and his helmet and everything, and I had to do a radio check with him and set the car up, and it was like, yeah, this is this is like
Oh
a
my God,
dream
I
come
didn't
true.
realize that. So all
Yeah,
of a sudden you're setting up your heroes
yeah,
helmet and radio.
yeah, and he's just sort of kind of saunters into the garage, and he's just sort of chatting with everyone, and you're like, oh, Mickey, I've got your helmet ready. He's like, okay, great, can we go and have a look
How
at
the
it? And you're
hell
like,
do you stay calm doing that?
yeah, okay. And you're like, yeah, okay, we can go and have a look. We're talking through the setup. Is that okay for you? Yeah, because you have to make sure it's like in their, in front of their mouth and everything. And then he
Oh
jumped in the
my
car and
God.
like, let's do it. Let's just do a radio check, Mika. Yeah, okay, and everything. And then yeah, so it was amazing. And then I got his autograph at the end.
Wow. How do you go about getting his autograph? Because you have to be professional, right? So I guess you have to go about it in a certain kind of way.
You just have to pick a moment, I guess. You just have to pick the right time when they're not working, when they're kind of just shooting the shit with someone.
Yeah.
Near the end of the day, and to be fair, I wasn't the only one getting his autograph. So you just print something off quick, and then you just got to him and say, Mika, can I get a quick autograph? And they kind of half expect it as well. They're not like, yeah, go away. He was a really nice guy. He's like, yeah, of course. And then, you just say, I want to like have a memento for this day and stuff like that, because I like watching you before, and I'm probably not going to see you drive a Formula One car again, kind of thing. And then you have a bit of a conversation and that,
That
and
is
then
insane. I was jealous before. I think it was Andy. Maybe Simon had one as well. I know Andy certainly had a McLaren cap with the old Silver West car on it, and that was signed by
yeah,
Mick. I'm pretty sure Simon had one as well. And I was really, really jealous of that. That might have just topped it, what you've just shown me. For those that aren't watching, it was a picture of Mika during this testing, which was personally signed, and it's more the story behind it
yeah.
I think it's amazing. I can't even imagine how you were feeling in that moment. I mean, when someone first told you, "Oh, Mika's coming to do some testing," you must have been like, "This is some sort of a sick joke."
Yeah.
He's not really coming, is he?
Yeah, I mean, on the inside, you're like, oh my god, and like, yeah, this is really. On the outside, you have to be like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, no problem. Where's this
It's,
microphone? Where's this all that?
yeah,
But that kind of helps you in a way that if you taking that, you have to take a professional approach to it and kind of pretend that it's nothing,
yeah.
and and that kind of helps you stay grounded a bit and not just go complete
I
fanboy.
guess it's easy to say you would be like that, but when you are there to do a job, ultimately your full concentration is on that job, right? That's
Yeah, I mean, if the worst thing that would, and also if you think about it from the perspective of you're doing the job, the worst thing that can happen is that the radio doesn't work.
yeah,
Uh, and it's the bad at any time, but your hero's in the car, and you don't want to have to be like, oh, sorry, Mika, let me fix that. So you have to focus on your job and get the radio working and do all of the stuff right.
yeah,
That kind of takes your mind off. Being busy kind of takes your mind off what's actually happening, and then you kind of get you know, the point where the car fires up and they say radio check Mika, and he says, yeah, loud and clear, my job's kind of done. And that's
And
when
then you sort of go, what the hell is going on?
you kick in and you're like, I am really standing in this garage in Barcelona. There really is Mika Hakkinen about to pull out in the McLaren. So yeah, that's when it kind of kicks in.
Oh, yeah, that's done me, that story. I'm blown away by that. Oh, wow, absolutely fantastic. I can't quite get my head around that. I don't know how you managed. Brilliant. Oh, I love that man so much.
Yeah, but I've got other ones like that. I've got Alonso. I've got Lewis. I've got Lewis and Mika, because Lewis was actually it was 2000 and it was 2000 and the end of 2006 or the beginning of 2007 when he did that, because Lewis had just signed and it was winter testing. So Lewis, let
Wow.
me try and find that one.
Wow. I'm blown away.
There's baby-faced Lewis.
Oh, look at him. Oh,
and
with Mika Hakkinen.
Yeah, both signed.
That is an unbelievable picture. For those not on YouTube watching, this is you need to watch this on YouTube to appreciate it. Like you say, a baby-faced Lewis Hamilton just signed for McLaren, and a veteran Mika Hakkinen,
Yeah,
and they both signed it. Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
And then I've got other random stuff like a bit of a pile. Oh, yeah. There we go. I've got like when John Button died, everyone wore pink t-shirts.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember that. I remember them all wearing them. Yeah.
I've got one that's basically, or maybe it was the one I wore, but it's in the packet.
Yeah. Oh, that's a lovely touch. Yeah, I remember those.
And I've got like when we left the test team, I've got a shirt like yours, but signed by everyone.
Yours looks a bit better than mine, to be fair.
Signed by everyone on the test team.
That's
fantastic.
fantastic.
Somewhere in there is Lewis is there.
Wow.
And somewhere is Pedro de la Rosa and Gary Paffett, who were the test drivers at the time.
Oh, wow.
I can't see where they are. But yeah, I'm not wasting too much time looking for that.
That's just such a nice touch, isn't it?
Yeah, and I've got like I could dig through the box, but I've got like a red when we wore red when we won races back then. I've got a signed Jenson Button and a Lewis Hamilton one when they won a race.
Wow.
That was when I was on the brand center, so I was lucky enough to kind of run out onto the podium and everything. And I've got a visor from Heikki Kovalainen.
Wow.
And I've got loads of random stuff like all my pit passes and stuff like that.
So you've kept all of that stuff, yeah?
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Oh yeah, and I've got Christmas cards. When we worked there, we got Christmas cards from the drivers and things like that. So I've kept Christmas cards signed by Jensen and Lewis and stuff like that. I've actually got a card once when we were working on the hospitality unit, the brand center. It was called. They've changed it now. It's a different unit. But back then it was, I don't know if you remember, it was a big glass fronted building, 3-story, like hydraulic building. It used to travel on 16 trucks.
Wow.
Made it up. And it was like a truck pulled in and it had a hydraulic floors on it, and it went up and then floors folded out. You can go on YouTube and put like McLaren Brand Center time lapse and you can see it getting built.
I'm going to have a look at that, definitely.
And we used to build it, and then the big glass front was craned on and everything. Anyway, in the winter after Monza, it was the last European race because they could only drive it around Europe. We used to take it back to England, but we used to take it to a warehouse in Maidenhead. Funny enough, very close to where the Van Wall cars, if you like historic Formula One, very close to the old Van Wall factory. And it used to live there, and we used to erect it inside there and kind of work on it over the winter, upgrades and repairs and stuff like that. And we had to take it there because MTC didn't have a roof that was high enough to set it up indoors. So we used to work in Maidenhead, and we used to set it up in this warehouse indoors and work on it. And one winter, we got a message from the manager. Yeah, Ron Dennis's, one of his kids, his 18th birthday, he wants to have the party in the brand center. And we were like, what? And he's like, yeah, he wants to build the brand center, put it all together properly in the warehouse, and he's going to have this like winter alpine theme, and he's going to have a magician, he's going to have a DJ, he's going to have a couple of other entertainers, and it's going to be this like whole night. And we've got to set it all up, set the brand center up. We've got to help set up this party, and he wants us to be like, like, what do you call it, like helpers at the party. And we're like, right, okay. The boss, whatever the boss wants, the boss can have.
Yeah, or whatever his kids want, they can have.
We set this brand center up. He brought in trees, like real trees, and made like this like forest in front of the brand center, because we had like, it was big, and the warehouse was big enough that we could build it, and then we could drive forklifts and things around in front of it, so we could load the glass onto it, and we could also just do work on big, whole panels, take them down, whole bits, units, and work on them. So we had basically like this forest built in front of the brand center with real trees. Had this company come in and set them all
in
up
the factory.
Inside this warehouse, yeah, just like
the warehouse, yeah.
And
wow,
it was like a big warehouse, and at the back there was like a kitchen and some offices and toilets and stuff like that. But it was mainly like a warehouse, and we just had racking like up the side. And then the hospitality unit was like in the middle. The brand center was kind of in the middle. But this time we put it towards the back, and then he built this big forest in front with real trees. And did he have a skate? He had a skate park. He had some like people do like BMX stunts like in the middle. He had like the trees up the side, BMX kind of skate park thing in the middle. And then this production company came and set up lights and everything, so it was cool, kind of like ambience around the trees and everything. And then a stage in front of the brand center, but there were like things inside the brand center as well, like simulators and stuff like that. Anyway, I had this big party, and afterwards we all came in like kind of the next day after we had packed it all down, and there were envelopes for everyone written, and it was a card from Ron, handwritten. Thanks very much for the party. It went really well, with a £50 note like inside the card.
Wow. So that again, that's just a nice little touch, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, I thought Ron Dennis was a great boss, and that was one of the reasons why.
Yeah.
And so that was a really nice touch. So I've got that card as well. That was the point of that story. I've got that card from Ron.
That's really cool, because you don't really see that side of him where he's doing that sort of.
No.
Well, you never did, at least anyway, see that side of him. He was always very hard and.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the Ron speak and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But he was a nice guy. So.
Oh, that's amazing to hear. That's great to hear.
And then I've got all my pit passes, and I've got some other random things. Like I've got when Rubens Barrichello did 300 Grand Prix, he made a special booklet that only got given out into the trackside team at Williams, but I managed to get one.
Oh wow!
And so I've got a few kind of rare oddities like that as well.
Wow, I love that. I was half expecting you to say, "Oh, I've got a couple of t-shirts still that I used to wear," or something like that. I wasn't expecting any of that.
Yeah, and I've got some team kit as well. I've got a bit of team kit. I've got one of the first tops that I wore on that fateful Valencia test.
Wow, have you still got your Hugo Boss shoes?
I have still got some of them actually. Yeah, they last pretty well.
I wasn't expecting that either.
I have still got a couple. I've got one pair left.
Oh, amazing! It's fantastic. I love that, because it's insights that me and a lot of people won't be aware of, sort of that side of it all. And yeah, it's an amazing story. Amazing. It must have just been so surreal.
It was very surreal. Yeah.
Especially as a fan.
It was a bit weird after when I left McLaren. It was a bit weird because after a while, my clothes all my clothes are basically either Hugo Boss like travel kit, because we got jeans and we got jumpers and things like that. So I only had to buy like the odd t-shirt and stuff like that. At home, I would just wear the Hugo Boss stuff we were given. After a while, I had to start buying like my own jeans and like my own jumpers and stuff. I'm like, oh my god, like clothes shopping. Yeah, this is a thing that
clothes have gone up a bit since the last time I had to buy them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Especially if you had expensive taste like Hugo Boss, you got used to that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Oh god, we could go on forever and ever, but I mean, what's your very first memory of Formula One? I know you said about, the reason you're a McLaren fan was because of Mika Hakkinen and stuff
This
like
is a
that.
bit
But
random. This is a bit random, but there used to be a folder series like back before the internet. Kids were entertained by buying magazines that you could put into a folder, and you would buy a different episode every week, and it would
yeah,
make up this folder. And this particular series was called Quest, and it was like a science engineering kind of thing. And you also got with the episode with the editions, you got like a model or something to do. And one of the models was this big cardboard, 3D cardboard model of the old Williams. I can't remember which one it was. This must have been about like 1987 or something like
oh
1980.
wow,
How old I am. And it was this like paper model of a Williams, and that was kind of my first when I really was like put two and two together. Like yeah, this is a Formula One car, and that kind of this is and that and making that model. And I remember it was like quite hard to make. And I remember I'm always been a competitive person, and I'm
same.
one of them guys where I like start something and I expect to be like I start golf and I expect to be Tiger Woods within like a couple of hours. And like I remember getting frustrated with this model and having to ask my dad, who is an unbelievable model maker, and that was probably why I wanted to make this model as well and make it so well. As my dad makes model ships, like wooden model ships.
Oh wow, okay.
When I say model ships, I mean like if you could get a laser or something and make it full size, you'd be able to sail this thing. He does
Wow.
all the rigging. He does all the rigging with actual pulleys. They actually work, and it's crazy. Like I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he's got the patience to do it. It's nuts. But I was like, I need to make this model good to impress my dad, and it was going really horribly wrong. And I remember getting upset. That it was going wrong, and him helping me. So that was that's my first memory because it was a bit of traumatic.
Yes.
At the same time, but I just remember as well that it was a Williams, and I kind of studied all about it and we read about it in the magazine and everything, and that was it. That was where I was like fully engaged after that.
Amazing. How old would you have been then, roughly then?
8 or 9, something like
Okay,
that.
that's good. So my son is currently 8, and just
Yeah.
before he turned 8, he actually built, I think it was this one of these Legos,
Oh, nice.
and I bought it for him in the hope that I would build it because he was only 7.
Yeah.
And turns out he wanted to do the whole thing himself. So he did from start to
Yeah.
finish. He would not
Fair
even
play.
let me hand him the bits. He got so engrossed in it. And
Wow.
it took him about 2 hours, but he did it from start to finish. And that he sort of showed a little bit of an interest in Formula One
Yeah.
from doing
Yeah.
that. And I really hope that that's something that he might remember growing up. Oh, that would be his first memory, when
Yeah.
he gets
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
when he
Yeah.
gets older. Because
Yeah.
it's a very
Amazing.
similar sort of story to what you just said.
Yeah. Right. They're great. Those Lego
Oh,
models,
they're
aren't they?
fantastic. Yeah, yeah,
They're so
so
good.
good. Really, really good. Oh, that's great. Uh, Ben, there's so much we've missed, I'm sure, but I'm well aware of the time, and it's later where you
Yeah.
are, and I don't want to keep you for too much longer. So,
No problem.
um, I always end with the same question,
Okay.
which is, what's your favorite all-time Formula One moment?
Ooh. It probably has to be when Lewis won the championship in 2008 because I wasn't working on the race team, but I was part of the team, and it was just amazing. It was just amazing. And I remember the chief mechanic, he said to me, like when we were during that season, and that was when we had full-time testing as well. So we would, we were kind of running all the upgrades and testing loads of stuff for the car. And he said to me, one of the tests, like, this is a time where you really see what you're doing, and what you do counts towards like a championship, and this is what we're here for, championships. And then he told me this story, and I never forget it, about this guy went. There was a tour, a presidential tour in NASA with John F. Kennedy, I think it was, and they were going around and they asked this guy who was sweeping the floor, like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And he said, "Well, I'm flying. I'm getting a man on the moon." And his point was, it doesn't matter what you're doing in the team, where you are, you're contributing towards that championship. And like the man sweeping the floor, keeping the laboratory clean at NASA, he helped as much as anyone to get to the moon.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so being part of the team and knowing that I had been part of the testing and the development of that car and getting it all the way to the end and the dramatic ending to that Brazilian Grand Prix was unbelievable. So yeah, that was a huge moment.
I love that, because that's what McLaren's all about. It doesn't matter what you do, as long as you're part of McLaren, you're part of that winning team, every podium, every championship, every whatever, from the very top to the very, I don't like to say it, the very bottom, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
That is, and that's not trying to degrade anyone by any means, but you are part of that team, and I love that. That's McLaren's philosophy, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was an unbelievable moment, and it just when you thought it was lost.
Where were you? Were you there?
No, I was at home with friends watching it.
Oh wow!
I all got together with my mates, and we were watching it at a friend's house, and it was all kind of going to be a big moment and everything. And all my friends are heavily invested in motorsport, and like I say, we've always been into motorsport. Anything with an engine and you can race it, we were kind of there watching it and doing it. And yeah, so we were all watching it, and then we all know what happened. Like it wasn't going particularly well, and Lewis was down, and it was raining, and it was like the last lap, the last corner, and it was like, Ben, I'd given up. I couldn't watch anymore. I'm like, oh, this is I can't believe he's thrown it away. Like I can't believe this has happened. And especially with what happened the year before, where we were like lost the championship by 1 point, and everything. I was like, I can't believe this. I can't watch. And it was like watching Portsmouth like lose the FA Cup or something, lose the Champions League. It hurt inside, and I couldn't watch. And then it was kind of like, Ben, you need to come and have a look. What's happening? And then I ran in to watch him overtake Glock, over that last corner, and it was pandemonium. And then obviously going back to MTC, after that on that Monday, it was mega. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet it was a special place to be.
Yeah, it was mega, and it was and as well because it was the first championship for a while. I can't remember the last time they won the championship before that, but it was a long time, and it was Lewis Hamilton, and it was mega.
Yeah, amazing! Wow, what a way to end it. Ben, again, thank you so much, and again, thank you to Sandra for setting it all up.
Thank you very
I
much,
hope everyone enjoys listening and watching this as much as I have, because it's been a great insight, and some of the stories are fantastic. So, yeah, thank you so much, mate.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
We'll probably have to do this again at some point to cover all the stuff that we've missed. I had so much I wanted to ask you, but it's just, yeah, the stories were just too good to stop you. So amazing.
There's a waffler as well. Sorry.
No, not at all. I could listen all day. Trust me. Amazing stories.
But yeah.
Yeah, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I've been Jimmy. That's been Ben. This has been the Papaya Pod. And until next time, never stop racing.